Cheers, everybody. Welcome to the Director's Commentary. That's a fine Stag's Leap Artemis that I'm enjoying tonight. So I wasn't even sure what was next here, and I just flicked it on, and from my 20th anniversary collection, 76 films in all of the Survivorman stuff, Beyond Survival, and a bunch of other films in there. I am closing in on the end of the last season of Survivorman. We're getting close. It's about another half a dozen yet to do. This one, I wasn't sure what was next, but I turned it on, as I said, and it is the one that we called Two in the Tropics. This was part of a series that I called Survivorman Legends, and the idea was to relive the story of certain actual survival stories, basically, and try to mimic a bit what had happened in those stories. I did it with the Kane family in Oregon, with Monica and Sam Auger and Monica Ward. If you want to see this without me interrupting and gabbing, then just look up Two in the Tropics, search Two in the Tropics within my playlists there, and you will find the episode in its entirety without these interruptions. So I should shut up and just get started. All right, let's do this. On Thursday, June 14th, 2012, Ian Thompson and Victorian Irwin Klaus were sailing back from the Caribbean to Australia when their boat struck rocks. In the midst of the panic, they were able to call out on a satellite phone at 10:30 p.m. to alert relatives. Even an emergency locator beacon was activated. But the seas were high, making rescue impossible for at least 2 days. Since their boat was close to a number of islands, hope was held out that they made landfall and could be found alive as soon as the weather broke. An extensive air, sea, and land-based search coordinated by the Rescue Coordination Centre, New Zealand, covering more than 191 square nautical miles, failed to locate the men. This is really interesting. I'm setting up the whole thing here, but just right off the top, I'm noticing just how much beautiful B-roll footage there is. Over the years, we really learned to try and concentrate hard on that. The whole thing about B-roll and Survivorman took quite a journey. In the beginning, it was all and only and just me. And it was awesome in a way because I would always have a few days before and after the survival expedition that I was going to film to just film beautiful things. All the transitions and time lapses. I would try to do some of it while I was out there, but it was easier to film close-ups of tree leaves and things like that later on. And I actually really loved that. Then when the budget got better, I started bringing along a camera person to just go and shoot those things. And that would be their job while I was gone for the 7 days, would be just to shoot the beauty B-roll, we would call it. And I learned that I really, really missed it a lot. And it never came back to me. For the rest of the time with Survivorman, I was never the one able to do that. I really missed it. And I really envied Max Atwood and, who else? Andy Peterson and all these different camera people that would come out and shoot for me. I envied that they got to just go out and film beautiful stuff all week long. And I could see how great this is and all this great B-roll that exists. And I'm remembering, oh yeah, Max was there. Max was always really the best at it, and still is to this day. 6 days later, a small wisp of smoke was seen rising from a deserted island, giving hope to the searchers.
Stories of wrecked sailboats and lost sailors.
Okay, so behind the scenes story. Poor Bushamn Bob. He's not here to defend himself, so I can just have at him.
I was accosted. I was attacked.
That scene just there when we were climbing up on the boat, we were filming it and wanted it to look so cool. And I lunged out of the water into the boat. No prop. Oh, speak of the devil. That's Bushamn Bob texting me right now because I told him I'm doing this and he's not here. I'm just going to turn you off, Bushamn Bob. There. You can rage on, my friend. Well, so here comes the first Bushamn Bob story. I lunged up out of the water and into the raft. Whoop, boom, ready to go. All right, Bob, go. come on, come on. And Bob could not get himself into the raft, out of the water. I legitimately had to reach down and grab him pretty much by the underwear and haul his fat ass up into that boat. And it was all caught on camera, and he begged me not to put it in the film. And of course, I didn't want him to look bad. Now I can make him look bad. But I didn't want to look bad. So anyway, you didn't get to see that, but that's what happened. It was freaking hilarious.
As old as seafaring itself. Last year, this year, and next year, sailors have been and will get lost, stranded, wrecked on reefs, thrashed around in cyclones. Sadly, the story of Ian Thompson and Victorian Klaus ended in tragedy. They were never found. Instead, once the storm had subsided, the wreck of their sailboat was found in 100 pieces, floating on the Pacific Ocean currents. One of the components of survival is luck. If you make it to land, what that land might be like is entirely dependent on luck. For this adventure, I'm joined by my old friend, Bob Wilson. But this is not about adventure.
AKA Bushamn Bob. Now, some of you have really been displeased with the videos that we have up on this YouTube channel of Bushamn Bob. Hey man, it's real simple. It's my channel. He's my best friend. He makes videos. They're funny. They're for a certain taste, to be sure. They ain't Survivorman, but they are Bushamn Bob, and there are a lot of people who enjoy his antics and find him hilarious. So why wouldn't I put a stream of his videos up on this YouTube channel because of those reasons? The guy's a brother to me, so I mean, for those of you who bitch about it, don't watch him.
This is to show what could have been possible if Ian and Victorian had made it to safe shores. This is about survival.
So Bob and I have jumped ship, and we're expected to make landfall wherever we can on this stretch of shoreline on one of the main islands of Tonga.
Well, the crew is going to leave us here now. You can see them off in the distance there. Where you're actually on the mainland, but you can't climb or walk to civilization. That's one of the ironies of a lot of survival situations. It's very much a so close but yet so far scenario. You've been essentially coming along the coast, and this is the deal. You don't really have a lot of options for where you're going to land sometimes. I mean, this whole shoreline, and this is the mainland, is a lot of cliff action, tiny little beaches. Eventually, of course, there are settlements and towns and things like that. Depending on where you end up getting stranded, or where you end up cracking up your boat, or whatever happens, that's when luck comes down to it as to what is close by. So tonight, we're going to pull in somewhere in this cove here, check it out, see how we fare for the night. We do have a beach behind us we can get to if we need to, but this just looks decently protected.
You know, along the way, when I did do these couple of episodes with Bob, we did the one in Temagami, which I've already done a commentary on, and this one here in the tropics. It's like, why don't you let Bob talk more? It's a funny thing, you know, it's a funny phenomenon. Bob is the kind of guy that his wit is perfectly at home at a party, at a wedding, kibitzing around, that kind of atmosphere, you know. He's the king of it. Very charming. But this is filmmaking. And filmmaking and that kind of wit don't always work. It's a total different thing. And he also knows how seriously I take my filmmaking and the production of certainly a Survivorman episode, and all of my productions really. And so there's always been that moment where once we switch to go, Bob tries too hard to be a professional, tries too hard to do it the way I would do things, which of course doesn't work because again, he's much more at home just being silly. But this is not the time and place to be silly. So the result of that is he's much quieter than he normally would be. He also knows that he has to let me do my thing. And
When doing my thing means that I have a whole storyline in my head and a trajectory that I want the show to travel along, and I can't have that interrupted. I mean, the buck stops at me. So if this doesn't work, it's nobody's fault. It's not my camera's fault. It's not Bob's fault. It's not my office's fault. It's my fault. It will always be my fault. It kind of is that way for just about every single thing I do. In fact, I'll digress a little and try and explain sometimes like why I might hold really hard to a certain standard or bar to get something done. It's like trying to get people to realize, even if I'm working with, when I worked with Nat Geo, for example, who really wanted to lower the bar, people forget. It's like, look, your name's not going to be out there saying you made a bad film, and her name's not going to be out there saying she made a bad film, and their name, it's all going to be me. If you guys watching this right now don't like the work that I do, are you going to sit there and go, yeah, he had a terrible editor? No, it'll be my fault. It'll be Les Stroud's stuff sucks. That's what it'll be. So I take that really seriously. Now that sometimes makes me the asshole in the room. The one guy who's saying, we said we were going to do it this way, and now you want to do it that other way and lower the bar? No, I won't do that. Oh, come on, come on. No, I'm not going to do that. Oh, come on. And I'm the guy saying, no, we're going to do it the way we had planned because that's strong. And I've run into that hundreds of times in my career, doing Shark Week, working with National Geographic, working directly with Discovery Channel on other projects. I know I'm so tangenting right now, but I hold the course, and I always will. It's the only way I can do it. The right way.
I'm going to ground out right here. Keep it going.
Deciding where to land can be a crapshoot. A beach can seem obvious, but it can also wash out as high tide comes in, leaving you stranded against the rocks with a high jungle.
Wow. This is awesome. Dry land, lots of protection. This is the kind of safe cove you look for. Now, whether we can get up into the land, that's another story. I don't really know if we can or not. We got caves. A couple of options, actually. Let's get the raft, get everything safe up here and dry. Right. And then we'll explore and we'll figure out where we want to spend the night.
Caves, too, can be a death trap if the tide comes in high. But these ones look to be dry enough. In fact, they almost look too good to be true.
A couple things. Bob and I were talking about caves, and as much as they can be exciting, and you've got instant shelter, a lot of times they can be extremely damp, dank, bats, and usually the ground is like this.
That's a true story. Survival in a cave. Yeah, it's just rare that you find a fantastic cave to survive in. Love the ones that I had on Tiburon Island, the Mexico episode that I did. Now that was a pretty cool cave, but again, I tried to find caves in Costa Rica, no luck. And tropical caves, I think, for sure, tend to be pretty damp and awful and hard to stay in. But the ones that you get in Utah, some of those can be just right. Never count on a cave being your salvation as a survival shelter. Most of the time, they're awful.
There's the other cave. Smaller, more exposed, but still plenty protected in a lot of ways. Which cave do you prefer? Better bottom on this one. So, let's stay here.
Bob's right. This is the only flat ground to take advantage of, so the decision is made easy. A major component of survival, luck, is with us today. With two men surviving together, the workload can be shared, making most everything twice as fast and twice as effective. But the lingering issue when there are multiple survivors is always the same. There are two mouths to feed, not just one. As it turns out, we're not actually that far from civilization. If we could climb these cliffs, we could potentially walk out to a village somewhere on the mainland. It's always a frustrating thing for any lost victim to be unable to get to home safely when they know they're close.
There's a trail right down here. I mean, this is a cleared cut trail. Wow. Actually, the trail goes up and over. Oh my goodness. Wow. So we got another little cove around here with a beach. Oh, no, the water's gonna lock me out right now. Okay, so high tide. This is a no-go. We're fine where we are. We're settled in a cave. We're on the mainland. I'm guessing this trail will hike us right out. We're not going to hike out. That's not why we're here.
And again, that's a point, it's come up often in these things is oh, he was really close to civilization. And for those of you who've seen his director's commentaries before, this is sort of just a repeated refrain. But yes, there's been varying times where I could have just walked out. And I always mention it, just like I do here. The reality is that's not what I'm there to do. I'm there to survive. Probably the most frustrating one would have been in Georgia in the swamps, the Altamaha swamps. And frustrating because I couldn't walk out there, but I could hear the trucks downshifting on the highway not that far away. And frustrating because that plays on just your psyche. You know that someone's out there and they're well fed and all the rest of it, and you're stuck where you are. So it's better to not be able to see civilization across the bay or hear it over the wind kind of thing.
So luck is indeed with us. An established trail behind the cave seems to lead up and out to civilization, and our own shipwreck scenario could end now if we wanted it to. But we'll get to work instead and utilize the advantage of being a team of two that can work together to procure survival for the night.
Got something? Yeah, I had one lighter with fuel and one lighter with spark.
Our first issue is fire. We have lighters, but they become soaked by immersion in the ocean.
Careful, don't pull away quick. Gentle. I need husk.
See, now, Bob's a good bushman. He's a hunter and a fisherman and has a cottage up in the country and that sort of thing. But he's used to lighting a campfire or the wood stove. And lighting a fire in a survival situation is completely different. And so you can hear me kind of shouting out little commands. It's because I know how delicate it is to try to get a fire going in the dampness of the tropics with the kind of material that we're using, coconut husks and stuff like that are around. And so that is that's me in actual survival mode, because I really want the fire and I don't want to film a scene of us failing. I just want to get the fire. And when that is the situation, then I have to switch to kind of leadership role and get the job done.
Lots of husk. Why I got these big chunks on here? That's not going to do us any good at all right now. It's got to be all small, light stuff.
Even with Bob's inventive technique of using one lighter to spark the other one's fuel, he still missed one important beat, kindling preparation. So I'm kind of jumping on his case to make sure we have the fire we need to keep the damp ocean night chill away for the next 10 hours.
There's nothing there that's really going to catch. Small twigs, nothing too big, nothing too big.
See, it's just so true. Bob is used to firewood in Ontario in Canada, and all of it usually dry and prepared and ready. That's what, just like most of you, that's the fires you would light. This is damp wood in the tropics laying about, and you don't even know what the type of wood is. Big difference, but I'm familiar with this. And so I have to kind of jump on, I have to kind of stay on his case to make sure we get a fire.
We got something happening here. Okay, so let's speed on this guy. Bob's got it now. He's just going to keep feeding twigs and branches onto it. Bob's really good at getting the fire going. At his cottage out here, when it's so delicate like that, it's a different story. You've got to start off so tiny all the time, small, 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 and work your way up until you really have a base. But the brilliant thing Bob did was, which I never even considered, was we had one lighter that had fuel that would come out and the other one that still had a spark but no fuel. So you use the spark from one lighter to light the fuel in the other lighter. And as far as I'm concerned, that was brilliant.
I kind of assumed that husk was going to grow like crazy.
No, the husk won't flame. It'll only hold the ember. That's why it's a great way to carry fire. you got to have something else to catch the flame.
See, Bob just said there, I kind of assumed that the husk was going to go up like crazy because it looks like it should, but that's not how a coconut husk works.
You got her now, buddy.
Oh, look at this.
Even though it's the
Let's try this. Bob says he's available for a FaceTime. Well, let's see if this is going to work. Oh, and there he is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, let me just bring... Oh, good Lord, this is scary. I need another glass of wine. But here we go. This is Bushamn Bob. Let's see if you can see. There he is. Look at that. Can see him right there. Can you see yourself?
Hello?
So, Robert,
Yeah.
they can hear you.
Yeah.
They don't have to see you. That's enough right there. Some of them may be eating. So, the question for you, I'm now watching Two in the Tropics. Do you remember it?
Indeed. Indeed I do.
Well, at this very moment, it's the beginning of the show, and I haven't yet told them the surprise story of the little visit we got that first night in the cave. You may recall we got a bit of a surprise that night. Right now, but I was able to share with them the difficulty you had getting in the raft.
I only presented the difficulty to make you feel, well, a little more physically fit. That's all. That's the only reason. Yes.
Uh-huh.
It made you feel good, didn't it? Yes.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that, for being so generous as to make me feel like I had the upper hand on you. So now we are in the situation where we are finding the cave. So I'll tell you what, let me ask you this question. What do you remember about that first night?
Yeah, that was fabulous. It was, we were out on a limb, you might say. The cave was a beautiful find. It was phenomenal what we found. Place like, of all places on earth. Bingo, we find ourselves in that kind of a shelter. It was gorgeous. And the fire, yes, well, there was a bit of a challenge there indeed. Yes, out of my elements. But that would be natural for anyone in that specific situation.
Well, do you have a couple of minutes or must you go?
Yes, no, I'm good.
Okay.
The Leafs are actually on intermission.
Oh, I see. The Leafs are playing, are they?
Yes.
Well, we'll watch for a minute here and then I'll bring you right back on. So here we go.
tropics, fire is still a vital necessity. The nights will be cool and damp. In survival, when luck is on your side,
Can you hear that?
you don't want to become complacent,
Yeah.
for it can change in a moment, and your ordeal goes from surviving to trying to survive. And there's a big difference. Together, Bob and I jumped in the ocean, and together, we'll experience the difference between surviving on one's own and having a partner to work with. The beauty of not being alone is simply the conversation and camaraderie. Loneliness, one of the toughest psychological aspects of survival to deal with, is not something I'll have to worry about on this venture.
Now, I'm just going to pause that right there. So, you guys have heard me say this over and over and over and over again, but loneliness and boredom are crushing in a survival situation. And whether I had Joseph McConnell when I did the fan challenge, or my son Logan on some episodes, or with Sam and Monica, and then now here with Bushamn Bob, it just changes everything. The psychology is so drastically different when there's someone else there. You can laugh together, you can cry together, you can hunt for food together and fish together, you can build shelters together, and you know what? You can even go back to back and try to sleep in a way that makes you each both warm. So the difference between surviving alone and surviving with another person, even though you got to share food, like you got to split food in half, that's the downside, right? Anything you find, you have to split in half. Water, food, supplies, always split in half. But other than that, I still say it's far superior to be with someone in a survival situation. Let's keep watching, Bob.
The will to live, having a survival kit, your personal skill set, your physical conditioning, these are the four main components of survival. But the fifth and least tangible component is luck. I'm not even sure what it means. I only know when you have it and when you don't. If the two lost sailors had made any kind of landfall at all, it could have been luck or a combination of acquired skills. If that landfall was habitable, that would have been lucky, but they would have at least each other, and that's a huge advantage in a survival ordeal.
Okay, so now I got to stop this right here. So before I let this carry on, maybe Bob can help tell this story a bit. Let's check. Your memory is often better than mine. So remind me. So, okay. So you guys have asked me a lot of times about, have I ever run into anybody out there? And I've told the story in Labrador when people kept coming out in snowmobiles wanting to get an autograph on their snowmobile. In Arizona, I ran into a hunter. I got arrested in Alaska, all these different things. But one story I've never told has to do with two in the tropics and Bob and I. And remember that I'd found that trail and went up and over the hill. Well, Bob and I are down there, and I can't remember, Bob, were we already asleep or we were just sitting up? But do you remember what happened and the visitor that ended up coming down that night?
Yeah, we were sitting by the fire and we were just chatting. We finally got ourselves settled, and then we see this silhouette coming down the pathway, and he comes down. We're like, holy crap. And so down he's coming, and he heads out, doesn't even pay any attention to us, little nod, and he's off. Now he starts walking his way into the ocean. And this fine native gentleman worked his way deeper and deeper down the corals and got himself right out to the point where the waves were breaking on the corals. And he went snorkeling, and he went spearfishing and caught himself an enormous bounty of fish. It was phenomenal. And it's nighttime. He's out there, and he's got a flashlight, and you can see his light shining up through the ocean and back down and up and down, and he's flying around. He comes back out with his plastic bag, and he's got fish. We are like, you've got to be kidding me. It's nighttime, he's spearfishing, and he's coming out with a bounty, and we're sitting there eating crumbs. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think if I remember correctly as well, he came out bleeding. Like his shins, if I remember correctly, his shins and knees were gashed up from the coral. So yeah, so like it was literally as surreal as Bob just described it. It's like this dude just, yeah, and he didn't even like acknowledge us. He just went. We had to kind of, and I don't remember if he spoke English very well or not, but he just kind of went, like walked down, came out of nowhere, and again, as Bob said, it was pitch black. So in the pitch black, he just walked into the ocean with nothing more than a flashlight, no special equipment or nothing. I mean, talk about, in the end, put us to shame. It was like,
oh my goodness,
it was kind of embarrassing. Yeah. Like, okay, well, so much for our survival.
I think, Les, your phrase was, you looked at me and you said, and you think you're a man?
Exactly. So, all right, shall we keep watching?
Indeed.
A little more. Here we go. Works on seeing if we can turn those oars into actual oars and not paddles, because it's really awkward. I have the unfortunate job of mending myself. I was feeding the fire, I was holding onto the rock with one hand, moving the sticks around with the other hand, and then I stepped on one of the branches of firewood. Now, it was like a V-shaped. Well, the top heavy end came down and just, bam, landed right on the end of my finger, my middle finger, nearly crushing the bone. Then you have to take a red-hot poker and come down through the top of the nail until it goes pop, and it shoots out like a water fountain and relieves the pressure. I'm hoping it doesn't get to that state, but it hurt, so. Okay, so talk about foreshadowing. Some of you who've seen this episode know what's coming later. But what I can't stress enough here is injury in a survival situation. This is the thing, over the years, there might be some criticism of, oh, your show's kind of slow and boring compared to, some of the others. The others aren't worrying about teaching you or not teaching you, but showing you exciting stuff and injuring themselves. In a true, real survival situation, you cannot get injured. End of story. End of commentary. You cannot get injured in any way, shape, or form, because the second you do that, you have now disadvantaged yourself, and meanwhile, you're just trying to stay alive. You step on something and break a toe or twist an ankle or lose use of your fingers, or worse, your eyes. you're in a real dangerous situation. So it might seem a little bit insignificant, like, oh, big deal, so he whacked his finger and it's going to hurt later and be a little swollen, no big deal. No, it is a big deal. In a survival ordeal, it is a very big deal. It's not a big deal when you're at home, but it's a big deal out there. And you remember what comes next.
So it's a small bit of bad luck, but still significant. Losing the use of a hand or even a finger can change how and if you can do things.
Well, in spite of the sun coming down on me right here, it's actually raining out there, which shows you in the tropics how quick you can go from blue sky to a downpour. So,
Do you notice how much younger and thinner you look there, Bob? It's uncanny.
so we're just in under the edge of the cave. What we're going to do is we're going to head out of here. We're not going to stay in this cave for the rest of this time. We're going to head out to an island. Before we do that, I want to go over the survival gear that we have.
Okay, I can ask you a question here, Robert. We're about to get into the survival kit there. I'll ask you a question. So I just mentioned this before you came on now. Let me see, am I still recording? I am. And it's this. I said, you know, in real life, Bob is a charmer. He's the perfect MC for your wedding. He's the jokester at the party. But people would often say, like, why? How come you didn't let Bob talk too much? And what I explained was, Bob is like that, and he's the king of that. However, when it comes to me and my work, be it music or Survivorman, Bob also knows that I take it extremely seriously. And so something else comes over him and he gets a lot quieter to make sure that he doesn't interfere with me doing my thing. Does that sound like a fair analysis?
No, I don't think that's fair at all.
Here we
It's
go.
like giving you, an open leash to be able to explain everything that's on your mind. Far be it from me to intervene, my good man.
Never mind.
One is what happens when two men like Ian Thompson and Victorian Klaus have to ditch quick. In that situation, do you have a ditch bag that's ready to go? Bob and I did. We had our backpacks. And as a result, got boots in there. We've got our rain gear. We've each got our multi-tools and our knives. The other thing that I wanted to do, though, was I wanted to set up our more official ditch bag. And this I just picked up off the counter. It was empty, so I know what's in it. And that's a key point. A lot of times, 2 people will go out, 4 people will go out, and the only person who knows what's in the survival kit is the person who set it up. Bob should know everything that's in this kit. He should have been with me when I filled it. If there was any kind of extreme emergency in a scenario like this, Bob is left to scramble, wondering what's in here. Are there flares? Are there matches? Is there a signal mirror? Is there a radio? He wouldn't know. So in this case, we're going to go through the kit, and this will be Bob's first shot at seeing it as well. Rope. This I just grabbed for fun. All right, survival blanket, mask and snorkel. This almost seems decadent. Taking a fishing net and a survival pack? The reality is, yeah, I find fish nets all around the ocean shores. With any luck at all, it'll fill our bellies.
Actually, that little commentary there on the fishnet, I want you to kind of pay attention to, because I get asked so often about survival kits and what you should have. And the variables matter immensely. So, for example, in about 1 month here in Ontario, Canada, where I am right now, if you put me out there and I had to put together a survival kit, you know what's going to be in it? A bug jacket, mosquito netting. That I will consider a survival item, because the bugs are going to be horrendous. In the tropics, sunblock. In the Canada in the winter, an axe. In the jungle, a machete. It all changes depending on where you're going. Now, some things stay the same. Something to make a roof over your head if it's going to rain, absolutely. A way to get a fire going, absolutely. But there are a lot of other variables, and in this case, we're in the tropics, so a fish net doesn't become camping equipment. It becomes a survival item. A bug jacket in a month here in Ontario won't be camping equipment. It'll be a survival item. And that's the way I want you to look at the items in your survival kit. And remember, one of my favorite things to say about a survival kit is this. Think of it not like it's a survival kit. It's not. Think of it like it's a first aid kit. You don't put poor quality crap in your first aid kit, or not much at all, if you really need it for real potential injuries. Same thing with a survival kit. Why put crap and store-bought junk in a survival kit when it's only really meant to be used if your life is on the line? So think of a survival kit much more like it's a first aid kit, and you will start to treat it with a lot more respect. And keep watching, Bob. Actually, what do you now you're a hunter. Well, you try to be. And you're a fisherman. Well, you try to be. And but I'll bet still to this day, you don't, and this is okay to admit because this is going to be 99.9% of us. But I bet to this day, you don't really have a survival kit, do you, when you go out? Like, what do you have a survival kit when you go out hunting? Or do you have a collection of things in your pockets that you know will help, or nothing at all?
Pack always has survival entities, constantly. Because you never know when you're going to get lost, injured, caught in a storm, lost. Who knows what's going to happen to you when you're out there. So if you don't have some form of survival, you're euchred.
Let's keep watching.
We've landed.
I should mention that euchre is a Canadianism based on the game euchre. I found that by moving down to the States, and people there don't play euchre. And they'd say, oh man, you'd be euchred. They go, you're what? You know, you're euchred. And they go, what's that? You know, like the game, when you lose the game. I didn't realize must be more of a Canadian or maybe a British game. I think some of you Americans out there play it, but anyway, I'm just, what am I doing here? Kind of mansplaining for the term Bob just used, but there you go.
In a spot that looked like it was the one safe spot we could land. It turns out we could get out here. But we're here to survive. What we're going to do is we're going to get back in our raft, we're going to head out, and we're going to make our way over to an island and continue surviving.
We also have 1 jug of fresh water, and I threw in my own personal survival kit with first aid. This location was the ultimate in lucky. We could walk out. So I want to strand us where we can't. We're here to test out dual survival based on a shipwreck. So we need to strand ourselves on an island where we can't walk home.
Oh, notice that little shot I did there. Dual survival. I guess the show would have finally been out and on air at this point, and it was pretty hard. It was hard for me to resist doing little digs every once in a while of all the new crappy shows that were out.
Now, yeah, more right, straight. Now, go, go, go. Another big wave coming. Lean towards me. Okay, made it out. Let's go find an island.
It does go to show you that of all the random places we could have landed last night, it wasn't that hard to find one that offered near instant salvation, a trail up and out. So I've radio signaled the crew to come back to give us a ride 50 miles away to a small group of islands. But even for this, we find ourselves floating about between the swells, with the crew unable to find us. Fortunately, they do, and they've dropped us off near a tiny group of islands.
Aha!
Crew is repositioned.
Good. So you see, even in this situation, you know, I mentioned that to you. Now, there were 2 ways I could have done this as a film producer, and with all the other shows that came out and the reality TV that was starting up, that this was documentary filmmaking, and as in my mind, in my heart, and so I could have not told you. I could have said, oh, we paddled out and we found a new island. But the thing was, that wasn't the truth. The truth was the crew came and moved us closer to a place that we never would have been able to get to. We would have ended up back in civilization. We would have been blown into civilization. So the crew did that for us. However, if I remember correctly, yeah, they couldn't find us for the longest time. Like, it was a couple of hours for sure that we were out there, and because the swells were big, we were a little dot in the ocean.
So tiny.
Yeah, they couldn't actually find us. And then they finally did and took us out there. But I wasn't about to fool you and have you think that, oh, we just, you know, we paddled our way to the island. No, we got a lift. So, in other words, no full disclosure needed here.
So that we can basically paddle for a ways, make it back to one of these islands. No easy chore once we get out in the open ocean area here.
So you see, notice what I'm doing here right now is the same thing I do with Bushamn Bob all the time when we film. Because I'm in control here, I can decide when he speaks and when he doesn't speak. So I know how to say da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and then make an ending point, da-da-da-da, and then I press play.
We've got all of the wind.
And he has no chance to get in there because, again, I'm in control.
Wind and current coming at us. We got to make it over there. So we're going to be coming onto a lot of reef, but there's one little break in the reef we can hit. Well, yes indeed.
Wow, remember that?
Well, the deal now is we're on an island, plain and simple. Tide is coming in, and it's coming in fast. How much of this beach we have after high tide, I don't know. But Bob and I are gonna have to get our stuff up onto the high ground and then take a look around.
I want to see if our luck changes or if it holds. There is no longer a trail out of here. The safety net is removed. We have no food and only a small bit of water left. So the beautiful impression of surf and sand betrays the immediate need of food, water, and shelter. A tropical paradise can also be nothing more than a sun-scorched prison.
So what are you remembering so far about some of this?
Well, I remember in a few steps we're going to be walking across one of the most venomous snakes on the planet Earth.
I can't remember if we got it on camera or not. I don't think we did.
Yeah.
We did?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. I saved your life again.
Whoa, don't. Watch it. That's the most poisonous snake in the world.
So,
You're welcome.
first of all, for all you serpentologists out there, I apologize. Let me get it correct. That is the most venomous snake in the world, is what I meant to say. Snakes are not poisonous, they are venomous. So, honestly, guys, whenever I say that, and I've said it dozens of times on camera, unfortunately, it's just super force of habit from childhood. Everything is poisonous. But no, a snake is not poisonous, which is something you consume. It's venomous. Although something can be venomous and poisonous at the same time. Anyway, and then whether or not it's the most venomous in the entire world, well, that will always be a debate. You know, you have the fertile lance, and you have the bushmaster, and you have the black mamba, and that is the pelagic sea snake. But I believe it is considered extremely venomous, toxic, but it's very, very rare. It's the kind of creature that doesn't want to bite. Just like a bumblebee doesn't like to sting because it kills itself when it stings you, the pelagic sea snake, I've been diving and been around them all the time. They don't want to bite. That's not their thing. So I think you'd have to make them bite you. But yeah, that was quite a little shock when we saw that guy.
Oh, yeah. Fabulous.
Do you need to go watch the leaves?
Well, they're coming on shortly.
Whoa, don't. Watch it. I'm pretty sure that's a pelagic sea snake. That's the most poisonous snake in the world, according to many people. Wow. I'm glad you stopped me from stepping on that.
That was close, man.
We're gonna have to watch ourselves on this island.
Keep your eyes open.
There's a stinger. Well, tell me what you think we should do tonight. Like now. We've got about 5 hours of daylight.
Get a fire put going, get all the fire put together.
You know what I'm doing with Bob right there is something that I love to do when I take people out, is to get them thinking. Tell me what you think you should do right now. I mean, honestly, most of the time I know the answer. I know what probably the best answer is, but I need to get anyone I'm out there surviving with, thinking for themselves. When I took Joseph McConnell out, he stopped way too late. He chose a terrible place to survive. And so here, I'm just, Bob knows the bush, but doesn't know the tropics. So I'm just trying to get Bob to think. And anyway, sometimes they think of some really cool things to do that I might not have thought of. So let's see what Bob has to say here. Boy, and look at that face up on the screen, and look at that face. Now just Luke, can you do a side-by-side comparison of those two faces? There we go. Luke's going to do a split screen. Look at the difference. Good Lord. Ugh. Well, you're aging handsomely, my friend.
We're ready to light for sundown.
Sleep on the raft again tonight?
I look likely. Yeah.
It's not raining. That's good luck. It's not difficult to walk around in the jungle here. That's good luck. We have a soft, sandy beach all around the island, and that's good luck. So complacency can take over our perspective quickly. Yet I can't let it. We need to get to work, and even in such a tropical paradise, that still means shelter and warmth. I'm working on a new shelter using our raft as our bed, while Bob uses his two-lighter technique to get a new fire going. But in one moment of complacency, Bob changes our luck of having two lighters by accidentally leaving one of them within reach of the flames. The one lighter alone is now useless, which means turning to our survival kits and using up precious fire-starting supplies.
Aha! I forgot you did that.
Well, I did that to ensure that we had a good running fire. Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Perfect.
Uh-huh.
Perfectly executed.
And so there we have a wonderful example of how one small move, me smashing my finger, Bob ostensibly blowing up one of our lighters, changes everything. It changes the game. How do we keep that fire going now? I don't remember what the answer is, but I'm sure we do. But it changes the game. So in a survival situation, the nuances, the small moments, if I do a larger sort of keynote, speech to like a TED Talk kind of thing, one of the things that I often say is that the phrase, don't sweat the small stuff? That's not me. I sweat the small stuff, and I'll tell you why. Because I don't sweat the big stuff. See, the big stuff you often can't do much about. It happens. It was big, it was out of your control. Deal with it, move on. People would panic when the big stuff hits. I don't panic at all when the big stuff, when the real big caca hits the fan. I'm like, okay, we got to deal with this. But the small stuff, that's the stuff that bugs me. Because those little small mistakes can add up and become a bigger mistake that you didn't want. So smashing my finger, Bob blowing up the lighter, these are small mistakes. No big deal. Maybe not now, but later I could go septic because of my finger. We could have a downpour of rain and never be able to get a fire going again. Changes the game. So really important. Again, if you're listening to one of my keynote talks, if you are someone who sweats the small stuff, it's okay. Keep them in perspective, but then don't sweat the big stuff because you can't do much about them. Just react.
We don't talk much.
So there.
We just get down to work. We have no cave to shelter us this night, but we do have a few of the survival items like an emergency blanket and plastic garbage bag. Whatever I do, whatever mistakes I make or advantages I find will affect Bob, and vice versa. This is the beauty and the problem with dual survival. We have to work together or we can bring each other down quickly and make survival much tougher than it needs to be.
Bob and I made it through the night pretty well, unscathed. We must have fallen asleep pretty well in the beginning of the night, and as a result, fire died on us. But that's not the scariest part of the night was that the tide came up so high. This entire island, all of the sand is obliterated by high tide. Well, last night, the water came all the way up to right there, just right in front of that camera right there. So basically about 6 feet from our raft is how high the water came up.
It's time to see what other supplies we have available.
My whole point with the survival kit is a part of what I like to do just to make sure I'm getting things right. So this is my kit, and it starts with this. The pouch itself.
So now pay attention to this, guys, because this is a survival kit that I actually designed myself with Camillus. We don't sell them anymore. I've got about 150 left, I think. They're right downstairs. I am going to be beginning my own Patreon account, and with that, and a Kickstarter campaign as well, you'll be able to get those last 150 Survivorman designed group or solo survival kits. So let's see what's in it.
Becomes actually a bit of a catch bag, a container. Flint and striker, fire pellets, of course, rope. Garbage bag, great for signaling, and if we need to, we can cut it apart and make ourselves a better rain roof here. Pack of fishing gear. Flagging tape. And of course, last but not least, my favorite part of all of it, we've got a pot now. So that's my survival kit, and I want to see how this makes life better for us. Bob will be back soon with some coconuts, I hope, so I will start making a place where we can husk them.
Communication is key when you're not alone in survival, and Bob has a determined mind of his own. As much as he wants to do whatever he can to make things better for us both, without communication, we may start to frustrate each other.
Now, this is true. So I got to ask you about this too, because in this situation, there was I'm not sure if it's coming up later or not, or if it already happened. I think it already happened. But didn't I get you to bring the raft around to the other part of the island where we were going to stay once we'd settled in? We said, okay, let's do it in this spot here. And then, okay, Bob, go get the raft. And then you took like 2 hours to bring the raft because you started going off and explore. I can't remember, but that was the only moment and the only time where when Bob landed, I jumped all over you, because the thing is, he might have been having fun. He might have been exploring. He's in the tropics. He's with his buddy. We're doing this film, but I have to still always think like a film producer at the same time. And I'm thinking about how much time I have, what things I want to catch, certain scenes I want to get shot, scenes I need Bob to be there with me to shoot. And yeah, it's just like, you cannot be dicking around playing in the raft, which is what you did. You went playing. What? Now, what? Why?
I don't recall.
Oh.
I believe the 5th.
Oh. Okay. A little bit more, and then we'll let you go to the Leafs.
I'm going to head down to the shore over here. See a palm tree by the beach. I'd like to see if I can get some big, smooth-shelled, drinking coconuts. Really thick in here.
It's the kind of stuff that worries me. Bob's been gone for at least an hour now. And what we didn't do was we didn't say how long he would be gone for. We didn't establish that. So as a team, we're pulling a fail on communication. Where's Bob? And when's he coming back?
As Bob Wilson and I live out shipwreck survival on what
Is this bringing back memories?
Oh, yes. Fabulous.
would appear to be a tropical paradise, he heads inland for a trip that I thought should have taken 20 minutes, yet a couple of hours have passed, and I instantly start thinking the worst-case scenario. What if he snapped an ankle, or been bitten by a snake? So I've taken to eating coconuts to kill the time, and get my mind on better things. But inside, I'm frustrated, and I'm worried.
Now, the truth is, I'm frustrated as a filmmaker, not because I wasn't worried at all. Maybe if any luck would have it, maybe he would be bitten by a snake. But unfortunately, he wasn't. He was just dragging his butt. So, yes, half of me was worried, but the other half of me was just pissed because I had a job to do called making a film.
I was filming. I was making you a fabulous film. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
You gave us all of 25 seconds worth of footage there we used.
All right, I should be in now. This piece in the middle, some people call it the coconut apple. I call it the best part.
Oh, yeah.
And here comes Bob. Hey, Bob. Wow. Look at them all. Wow, okay. So if these are all edible, we're rocking. Well, He was forgiven because of the bounty he brought back.
That's what took so long.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome.
One mistake, and that was we didn't establish any communication. I thought you were only going to be gone 15 minutes. From now on, we split up. We should talk about how long we expect to be. And so each other knows. Bob and I are boosted up a bit from the energy of eating some of the coconuts. Shelter's kind of set up. A lot of fire material has been gathered. And we've got a boost of energy right now. We're going to make use of it by hiking in to the center of the island just to see what else we can find.
Proactive survival will always mean checking out the surrounding area for advantages.
A lot of times when you look at an island and you see all of the coconuts are missing off the trees, and it's not a place where there are a lot of humans, that's often the reason is coconut crabs going up, cutting down, eating them on the ground. So even that tree up there, I mean, there's not much on it, probably because coconut crabs. I mean, we've got so many great coconuts just on the ground that we can eat. All Bob and I are really looking for are the green coconuts, so we can get a nice full drink of water out of them, and that extends our own water supply. One of the key things to surviving a long time is making sure that what you have that works lasts a long time. So if you can, for example, keep drinking coconut water without getting serious diarrhea, make your own water supply last, you survive longer. And that's something we wouldn't mind doing, is getting ourselves some green coconuts. It's just they're up so high. It's not as easy as it looks. Bob, what I'm going to do is as we walk through the forest, I've brought the flagging. So I'm going to flag the trail. If you're really stuck in a survival situation for a long period of time and you start setting off trails, I mean, it helps so that you don't get lost if you got to find your way back, but it also tells anybody who's looking for you that you come this way. Actually, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have a little black magic marker, and you could actually write a note on the flagging tape, maybe write the date down or something like that. Remember we were talking about the coconut crabs and baiting them? Well, there's 3 coconut trees with big mounds. It might be a good place to go bust open some of those coconuts and create some bait. You know what? I continually keep putting this machete down, and it's so brown, I keep almost losing it in the coconuts. Survival gear needs to be able to be found quickly. It can be ugly. It doesn't have to be pretty, but you don't ever want to lose it.
While Bob struggles to get through the coconuts with his machete, I'm conserving my energy and the sharpness of my blade, normally getting through with only 1 or 2 chops. It's not a machismo thing. It's just years of acquired skill at a seemingly easy job.
My. You look like you're struggling there.
Well, if you look closely, I was using the dull side to ensure that you look good for the film.
As you just said there, how does he do that anyway? That was your comment.
Heard you chopping away like a lumberjack back there.
I was getting a drink.
Oh, were you? If you were to just pick on this size coconut,
Yeah.
right? Just get a small one. Save your machete, get a nice small one, line it up, get comfortable, and do the Bruce Lee thing.
Yeah.
See the machete go through to the other side. Put that out for Mr. Crab. Ooh, sponge.
Ah, yes, the master teaching the student.
I can't take it anymore. Fine, I'm leaving.
Good, well.
Did you notice my Tonga shirt?
Oh.
Oh, you see? Yes, dressed for the occasion. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, good Lord. I need to go.
Lovely spending this.
Yeah. I need to go top up my wine. I'll let Bob go watch the Leafs lose, and to be continued.
Love you, brother.
Love you too. Yes. I need to top up my wine. Give me a second. Hey everyone, allow me to interrupt myself. I don't really like hawking merchandise and swag, but you guys do ask all the time where you can get certain items. For example, check this out, Hennessy hammock. I put a lot of time and effort into designing this hammock with Hennessy. It's their top hammock. It's an amazing, beautiful, comfortable hammock to enjoy for all of your adventures out there, so just check it out. It's got a full-size tarp, which was a big thing for me. It's got insulation, and I love it. So I've got the Hennessy hammocks. Of course, for years I've been in a phenomenal relationship with Hella of Norway, Hella Knives. And this is our signature knife, of course, the Tamagami. These knives are handmade. In fact, I've been there to this very ancient factory where I don't know how many, it's well over 100 years that they've been operating, and every single handle is handmade. All of the grinding, everything is done by hand. And these knives are absolutely beautiful. I also now have a brand new relationship, and you will see these items, new forging tools that I'm designing with LT Wright Knives out of Ohio, and also Chef Paul Rogalski of Wild Harvest. has the signature Chef Paul Rogalski kitchen knife collection. Those are a big thrill to me, to have these beautiful items that we spent years designing, and I still have them available for you. However, if you want to go more the route of just enjoying the Survivorman legacy, if you will, then of course, go to my website, lestroud.ca, go to the shop page. Right there, you've got everything. All the swag, all the merch, such as my manual on survival. This is if you want to get into survival. This book is meant to be a way to walk you through step by step, because I deal a lot more with concepts than I do with specifics, because that's really important. Once you understand the concepts of fire by friction, for example, you can do it depending on where you are, because I can't give you the advice on how to do it here in Canada and hope that it's also going to work down in the jungle. Things are different. So I've always been very proud of this book, Survive. So that is my survival manual. Also, if you weren't aware, I've got the book Will to Live. I wrote this book well, it's kind of for a lot of fun. I took my 10 favorite survival stories, such as Chris McCandless Into the Wild or the Robertson family and the life raft, and I basically dissect them with this book. I tear apart the story, I go through everything, and I even give them a little bit of a grade on how I thought they did. So I really enjoyed writing this book. It's a real easy read, it's a fast read, but I think there's a lot of insight there for you into all of these different examples of people who have either survived or perished. Speaking of books, so honored, so thrilled, so proud that Wild Outside, my first children's book, has won the Yellow Cedar Award, Best Nonfiction Children's Book in Canada for ages 7 to 14. I tell stories from Survivorman, lessons learned during those expeditions and adventures, and there are even activities they can do in the out of doors. So there you go. My new book, my children's book, Wild Outside, Around the World with Survivorman, has just won the Yellow Cedar Award, and I'm up for another award yet. And in keeping with stuff that's going on right now, we are also up for an award for our Season 1 recipe book from the series Wild Harvest. And if you've never caught the series Wild Harvest, check this out.
Hey Les!
Gotta watch the whales!
Oh my gosh! This perhaps is the most incredible kitchen scenario I've ever had.
Can you create a dish where the domestic ingredients don't overshadow the wild ingredients?
This dish is a showcase of how great these foraged ingredients come together.
It's the best when it's its own flavor. When you're making something with a wild edible, you're nailing it and not losing the wild flavor. Tell me that doesn't look awesome. 2 seasons right now, 26 episodes. In the United States, it's on PBS stations. You can also get it on this YouTube channel. In Canada, Cottage Life TV. In Sweden and Norway, on Matt Cannellan. It's on National Geographic. Asia, which includes China and India. So my Wild Harvest series is playing around the world now, and we, with every single season, create a recipe book based on the recipes that we show you in the actual shows themselves. So that's Wild Harvest. And of course, if you want the DVD, you can get that on this website as well, lestroud.ca. And let's not forget too, that I'm a musician. The CDs themselves are available on the website. The next release will be the re-release of the Mother Earth album on vinyl. But go on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to music, or on my website. You can go to the shop page, you can pick up all of my CDs. This is the last one. This is my 20th anniversary selection. Check it out. Every film I've ever made, 76 films in all of the Survivorman, Bigfoot, Beyond Survival, music documentaries, one-off films such as the award-winning Lalache about the school shooting up in Canada and a healing canoe trip. This is my 20th anniversary, 76 films. And people that have picked this up have raved about it. And I'm really proud that I can say I've got 20 years of anything, to be honest with you. That's available for you as well on that Les Stroud shop page. Okay, that's me hawking my stuff. Back to the video.
Hey, SpongeBob.
It's the simple, small things in survival that can make a huge difference. While I decided to tie ugly orange flagging tape around my machete, Bob didn't. And the result was the two of us losing almost 2 hours searching for his machete amongst the jungle floor debris. Time is not a luxury one has in a survival ordeal. Time is always running out. So you don't want the same to happen to your luck.
Wow, it just says coconut crab, doesn't it? So areas like this,
coconut crabs will come out of. They like to hide in the rocks. Bob's got a good idea to bait right by the holes here. All right, if you're gonna go with a crumb trail up to the holes, at this spot, I'm gonna set up a trail cam. And unlike Bigfoot, I don't think coconut crabs recognize what these are.
We'll head back to camp. Bob's going to give fire starting his best shot using a flint striker from the survival kit. But his frustration is going to lead him right to the one precious store of limited matches.
I tried the magnesium, but the grass, even the grass itself, is still too damp. It's not even taken. So, matches.
No, that's a waste. See, now, that is, and it's not a slight on Bob, that is the reality of those flint strikers and having a spark. It takes a lot of practice. I've seen guys carry them around and have them hooked onto their belts and stuff. And have you ever used it? No. Then it's not going to work the first time you go to use it. You have to know how to do it. There's a skill set involved. And so if you do have a flint striker, practice with it. Practice at the cottage. Practice when you're camping. Practice in your backyard, wherever you can. Practice with it because it's harder than you think. And Bob, for all his hunting and fishing experience, has never used one before. And he's just assuming he'll know what to do, seeing the way I do it. So this is probably me giving him heck anyway. Here we go. It's a waste of the matches. I'll have to show you. So this is me now saying, okay, you can't get it going with a spark? Let me show you how to do it. So this is using just the spark, nothing else.
In the name of survival, I couldn't help myself. I had to jump in and stop him from using up the small supply of matches from the kit when I knew it was possible to get a fire going with just a spark.
There we go. Just with sparks only. See how I pressed down, I was digging? That's the difference.
Phenomenal. That's why he's Survivorman.
It wasn't about showing off. It's just that supplies like matches are everything in a survival situation.
That's a pretty simple problem to have. It was made sort of famous in the Castaway movie as trying to get into a coconut. So we're trying a couple of different methods, and I thought, why not? What about burning it off? Not only did it work, but I think it's given us a hot drink. Wow, that's hot. Wow.
Amazing.
Oh, we got to do this more often. That's a great way to get into a coconut. Heat up the water.
Just like my philosophy of saving.
Now, I got to admit, that's not in any survival book anywhere. No one's ever said to do it that way. I just thought, why can't this work? And it did, and it was a big payoff. So you're welcome.
Matches when you have them. We can now save the edges of our machetes by burning open the coconuts instead of chopping them and risk dulling or even breaking our blades.
So you see what that's all about is, in a survival situation, when you find another way to get a fire going, build a shelter, boil something, cut something, whatever, that is going to save the easier way that you have, but you can do it this way, so getting a fire going with a spark and a flint striker, rather than using up the matches, means that the matches are there for another situation that may require a quicker fire. And so you want that flame right away, and matches are better for that. So that's what it's all about, really. It's not about doing funky things. It's about doing things that then work to make your survival situation, make it seem like you have more assets on hand. I've got my lighter, great. I've got matches, great. But I also have a sparker here, and I know how to do it with just a spark. So I'll save my lighter and I'll save my matches for when I really need them. Plays out in all survival situations.
I'm working to keep luck on our side.
So what we've done is we've put all these split coconuts, left them out here as bait, hoping we might find at least some hermit crabs.
Mirroring two men shipwrecked, Bob Wilson and I are seeking out all the survival advantages we can on a remote island off the country of Tonga. Working together, we've been able to split up our responsibilities. I'll keep the fire going tonight, while Bob checks the bait we left out to entice large coconut crabs. There can be massive coconut crabs on this island, big enough to be a full meal in themselves. It would seem that the crabs are not the only coconut eaters on this island. For now, the hermit crabs will have to be our main meal.
Now, the idea of going after the coconut crabs is that they're huge.
You got one. Let's see what you got.
One in the bag.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, we'll add them to the bounty.
Luck is keeping weather on our side. We've watched rain go by us a dozen times, but we've stayed dry and out of any of the storms that are blowing by, enabling us to take time to keep searching for food.
Now, look at that right there. So that pot on the open fire there, it looks like camping, doesn't it? This is why I believe that your survival kit, if you have an actual kit and not just stuff in your pockets, should be something you can boil water in. So you keep all of your survival items in a can. We used to use like the Folgers coffee cans, because it has a plastic lid on top too. So you can put all your survival stuff in that can, put on the plastic lid, that's your survival kit. Now you can boil water in this. That's a massive advantage in any survival ordeal.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well,
Very good.
that's a great job.
Yeah,
Job well
really.
done.
Really good.
It was a long day, but a good day. Lots of coconut on this island, and getting those hermit crabs and for Bob and I to be able to chow down on them, unbelievable. I always like to eat right before bed in a survival situation, because then all night long our digestive systems will be digesting the hermit crab and the coconut that we ate, and hopefully that keeps us warm internally. The fire is radiating an incredible amount of heat into the shelter. It's fantastic. Even though it's about 4 feet away, we can move it closer if we need to. The other thing we made sure tonight is we're actually sleeping on top of the life jackets. They were soaking wet. We couldn't use them last night. So tonight, we've had them dried out all day, and that should stop a lot of the cold from the ground coming up and just basically chilling our bodies down.
The three main zones of assessment in survival are your body, what is immediately around you, and then lastly, what is further afield. In this case, what's further afield is the ocean itself.
Now, if you're looking to ever do any kind of survival instruction, especially with the youth and that, Google search Survivorman's zones of assessment. And you should be able to find it in written form in various places online that explains all of that in detail.
We know there's bounty to be had, but how close is it? And how easy or difficult will it be to take advantage of it?
While Bob's out checking the bait early this morning to see if there's any more hermit crabs we can gather up and eat later, I'm thinking now that it's time we get out and check out our last zone of assessment, the ocean. You've got to be careful, because one wrong move and you snap an ankle or gash yourself against the rocks, everything is over. We've got to get ourselves out of here. So the first safest is to go and just try fishing with a line. Second safest would be try fishing with a net. And lastly, the most dangerous would be spearfishing with snorkel and mask. Always go with your safest and easiest bet first in a survival situation.
I got to say here too, one of the things I loved about doing this with Bob was because all of the other shows that came along after, and certainly and especially Dual Survival, it was all about pitting someone, one up against the other. And I'll address this so much more. I've said, by the way, in my update that I will be eventually doing a video that takes on all of the other shows and really sort of dissects them. And one of the things that I will be saying when I do that is that survival is not about competition. Never was, never has been, never will be. I don't believe in that. Survival is surviving. Like I say, I really enjoy doing this with Bob. We should really actually have done some more together.
In this case, we'll try some line fishing. Just got to find myself a small plastic bottle, which sadly is not a difficult thing to do when you're on the edge of the ocean. There's our fishing reel.
While Bob fashions the line and lures from the mini survival kit together into a usable fishing reel, I'm working on making a spear.
Figure we're not using a...
Remember too, if you want to see a real successful line and using a plastic bottle as a fishing rod, look at the Grenada Island director's commentary or just the episode itself. It worked like a charm in that location.
Something biting on the other end already. I felt the line go tight. Something's biting, something's biting.
I got something. I got something.
Slingshot. Maybe I can use the rubber off of it and make a sling spear for spearfishing.
Once again, being two instead of one in a survival situation makes life, and therefore survival itself, easier. I've broken the small scissors off my multi-tool, which was no easy thing to do, and taken apart the slingshot to use as the rubber sling. Along the way, my casual approach leads to another accident.
Son of a gun.
At this rate, I'm gonna run out of fingers.
I just sliced my finger. His hand is slowly getting beaten up pretty badly.
So that's actually the scissors from my multi-tool. So come in here. Worth a try.
It's time to get out and try our luck at fishing, spearing, and netting. We can leave the...
I love this when this happens. Now you see now in that little shot there was a sea urchin. I wasn't experienced at that time with eating sea urchins, but they're actually delicious. Now there's not a lot of food in them, but they are delicious when you can get them. And so survival, when I say in the components of survival, you know, your survival skill set, your knowledge, it's something that takes years to build up. We should have just gathered those and eaten them. I didn't know any better. I truly didn't know that I could at that point. I mean, I know now, but I didn't know then. It happens a lot. If you remember the squid in Mexico, I'd never eaten squid before. I didn't know which parts you could eat. Turns out you could eat the whole thing. I didn't know that. That's the reality when you find yourself in a survival situation, is you're stuck in this unfamiliar situation, not knowing what to do. And it doesn't matter if somebody says, oh, you could have just done this or could have just done that. You don't know that.
The net anchored with rocks on the tidal area over the coral. The beauty of the net is that it can work constantly when we don't have to. Next, we'll try our luck at fishing. I'll row and keep the raft steady while Bob sees what he can land.
Now, the reason, and I probably say this coming up, the reason why doing that is, in a survival situation, this isn't about ego anymore. It's you do the things that you're best at. So I'm best at getting a fire going. Really, it should just be me that does the fires because I know how to do it efficiently. Bob is an excellent fisherman. So why not have Bob do the fishing, and I'm good at handling a raft. I'll handle the raft. So it's not about let me fish, let me fish. This isn't recreational, it's survival. And in survival, who's ever best at a certain job that needs to be done is the person that should be doing that job. A real survival situation is not a time for learning. It's like so many things in survival. Now that said, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be teaching somebody how to do something or getting someone to know how to do something so they can do it and you can do something else. That's true. I'm just saying out of the starting gate, especially when you need something right away, who's the best at it? That's who does it. Bob is really comfortable as a fisherman. He's been fishing all his life. But this is a lot different from fishing in Northern Ontario with a rod and reel, when all he has is a plastic bottle and a jig that he can throw out there.
After at least 2 hours of fishing with Bob in the raft, yet catching nothing, we've decided to split up. There are times to work together and times to work separately, and it's a judgment call which way will be successful. I'll try spearfishing while Bob walks the reef edge with the fishing kit. As I take several shots at fish, the makeshift spear is clumsy at best.
Almost had an octopus there. You can see the ink that was squirted out. I was hoping for that one big time.
Hit a squid.
Squid.
With ink squirted out after my attempt to catch a squid, Bob finally has some luck and lands a small reef fish only a few yards away.
Well, I gave it my best shot there. I was in for a good hour and a half trying to see if I could spear a fish. I hit one fish in the side, and I hit him again in the side, and then he just disappeared on me. I couldn't find him again. At least it's not difficult swimming out there. There's no current pulling you away or undertow or anything like that, so it's possible to hover there and spear fish. But boy, they're fast, and it's a clumsy spear, so it's not the fastest. But anyway, Bob's going to give it a shot now.
The net we left out is empty, so I've taken to walking the reef area looking for anything at all I can catch from up above. It's also time to show Bob just how quick and efficient a fire can be made with just a spark and a tiny bit of tinder from the survival kit.
Okay, now that is me showing off.
Let's do a tally of what we've got. We've got the 2 coconut crabs.
Yeah.
Right. This little beauty. Nice going. It's great though. Still though, right? Taste of fish.
Fish is fish.
I mean, that's fantastic.
Grab these off the beach.
Yeah, we can cook them right in the coals. Those snails will pull right out of there. Seems to me like you did a lot better than me today.
Hard to do.
I only caught one thing.
Wow. No flipping way. Look at that.
Where did you get that? I wasn't even fishing. I was walking along the reef, but I had a poker in my hand.
Yeah.
Saw him slipping underneath the rock.
No
Or out
way.
of some coral, I guess.
Holy moly. That's great. That's amazing.
Now we're eating. Look at this. Look at the meal now. So your fish, hermit crabs, 3 snails, and octi.
Fabulous.
Oh my gosh. Tomorrow, Bob and I will head out of here knowing that if we were stuck here for an extended period of time, drinking would be the hard part. We'd be getting little sips of coconut water on a daily basis, and that's not enough. In the rainy season, it'd be easy. Right now, it's tough. No fresh water on this island, and no rain, and that would kill us from dehydration in 5 to 8 days. We'd be done. This is what happens when you stay put. If you're stranded, you're stuck, and you've got to survive, you catch a rhythm. The rhythm of the lands, the rhythm of the critters that are all around, figuring out what to catch, when you can catch it. We can cycle our jobs. Whoever's in the mood to spearfishing, spearfishes. Whoever's in the mood to walk the reef, walks the reef. Who's ever in the mood to gather coconuts, gathers coconuts. And that way, as a team, we can work together and effect some pretty excellent survival. Wow, that's delicious.
So luck is with us. We have food, fire, and shelter. But we are out of water. And if I'm not careful, I'm going to run out of fingers to use.
Okay, let's do this.
So, I don't know if I still have the footage or not, but I had to do this once before in an adventure race, only it was my big toe. And we filmed it, my big toe was just massively swollen, the nail was lifting off, and we did the hot poker thing to relieve it. And the juice shot about 3.5 feet in the air. I think they shot right at the cameraman, sort of thing. But so I knew it would work, I know it's possible. And my nail was so swollen and painful that I had to relieve that pressure, and this is how it's done. Now, watch Bob's, for all of his posturing, watch Bob's look of worry when I first do it.
Ah! 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 Oh! Fuck! Ah! 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 Oh God! I put too much pressure on it, right into my finger with the burning end. Holy crap! Wow! So I went through with the heat, and I just a little too much pressure at the end, and I popped, and when I popped and went through, I touched underneath the fingernail into the skin, into the blood and the skin.
Oh.
Oh shit! Let me take that.
Oh.
Oh. Okay, well, I'm just gonna relieve the pressure. Get this blood out.
Oh.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not sure I can't even look at that.
Oh, can you see this happening?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay,
Ugh.
the idea here is to get the
Yikes.
blood out and relieve the pressure. I wasn't
This is crazy. I can't watch this, and it's actually me doing it. Oh.
supposed to push all the way through. I was just supposed to create the hole. Oh. Oh boy. Oh. Wow. Okay, I wasn't expecting that. Can you see all the blood gone now?
Oh yeah, the deed is
Right.
done.
Deed's done, so it's get all the juice and the blood out
Yeah.
of there.
Completely changed color.
Yeah. Whew.
You know, that little shot of the camera where I guess the camera would have made a really good meme if you think about it. Or GIF, I suppose. GIF or GIF? Can't remember. They cleared that up in Ted Lasso, though. So I'll let this last bit of narration take it out, but little full disclosure behind the scenes thing. What Bob didn't know, but I knew, and I had saved for the very last night that I knew we were going to be spending our last night on the island was I saved a little bottle of scotch for us to enjoy and say, brother, thanks for doing this with me. So, which of course knocked us right out, and we fell asleep immediately because we got no food in our stomach, not much water in our systems, and kind of tired from not sleeping all that well anyway. So a couple of shots of scotch. And
We've been lucky. Tragically, luck is not always with people who become shipwrecked, lost, or stranded. And even when luck is with you, how long can it last? Without water, we die. Without food, we die. Without shelter, we succumb to the elements, and we can die. We can have the will to carry on. We can have an experienced set of skills, physical strength, and even a good set of supplies. But sometimes, bad luck will override all of that, and we perish.
there we go. All right. Well, with an unexpected visit via FaceTime, Bushamn Bob joined us for this one, which was great. Hope you enjoyed that. I've got a couple more to do yet, but there we go. We're closing in on the end of these, and after we finish this season of the Survivorman episodes, which will include the very final show, which was Survivorman and Son in Mongolia. I will move on to the rest of the as yet not commentaried Survivorman Bigfoot episodes. All right, guys. See you soon.